All right, today we're jumping into something huge, a real revolution in thought that didn't just change what we read, but honestly, it changed how we understand, well, everything.
So, let's kick things off with a pretty fundamental question. Can you ever be a truly objective reader? For hundreds of years, the answer was a resounding yes, of course. It was just a given. But then, in the 20th century, you could say the ground started to crumble under that old idea. So, this really paints the picture. On one side, you've got the old dream, right? The reader is like a scientist in a lab coat, totally detached, objective, just trying to extract the one single true meaning from a text. But then look at the other side. This is the new reality, and it's so much more interesting. What if the reader isn't a scientist at all? What if you're a participant, a partner in a dialogue, always tangled up in the story you're reading? So you might be asking, where did this whole idea of the perfect objective reader even come from? Well, a big part of it goes way back to the Enlightenment and a really influential idea from the philosopher John Locke. He talked about the tabula rasa, the blank slate. The dream was basically that you could just wipe your mind clean, open a book, and let the pure, unvarnished facts just write themselves onto your brain. And what was the end goal of all this? It was about mastery, dominating the text. The reader, armed with the superpowers of reason and logic, was supposed to break into the text, like a safecracker, and pull out its one correct meaning. It's really a power trip when you think about it. The reader is the conqueror, and the text is this thing to be conquered. But then, everything changes. This guy, the German philosopher Hans-Georg Gadamer, steps onto the scene. And, by the way, the man lived to be 102. Anyway, in his huge, landmark book, Truth and Method, he just takes that whole idea of the objective reader and flips it completely on its head. So, Gadamer's game-changing idea was what he called pre-understanding. You can think of it as everything you bring with you when you sit down to read. All your experiences, your beliefs, your biases, all that stuff we're usually told to get rid of. But here's the kicker. Gadamer said that stuff isn't a flaw. It's not a bug. It's a feature. He argued that it's absolutely necessary. How can a totally blank mind understand anything? It has no frame of reference, no way to even start asking questions. Yeah, he had a really great way of putting it. He said we're never just standing outside looking in on the world. We are entangled and enmeshed right in the middle of it. And that's not some kind of mistake or weakness. It's just what it is to be a person. So your perspective isn't some dirty filter that messes up the true picture. It's actually the only lens you have to see with in the first place. Okay, so if pure objectivity is a myth, then what? Are we just left with chaos, where anything means anything? Not according to Gadamer, not at all. His solution is actually beautiful, and it's this. Stop treating a text like a frog you have to dissect in a lab. Instead, start treating it like someone you can have a real conversation with. He gave this process a great name, the fusion of horizons. And you can see how it works. First, you've got the reader's horizon. That's your world, your baggage, your questions. Then you have the text's horizon, its own world, its own history and perspective. The real action, the magic, happens right in the middle. It's a dialogue. You ask questions of the text, but, and this is key, the text asks questions right back at you. And what comes out of that back and forth is the fusion, a totally new, bigger understanding that didn't exist before. It belongs to neither of you alone, but to the conversation you had together. And you have to see what a massive shift this is. The whole point isn't to find the one correct meaning and then close the book forever. No. For Gadamer, the whole point is the conversation. It's this amazing, ongoing process of discovery. It means you can go back to the same book 5, 10, 20 years later and have a completely different and equally valid conversation with it. All right, so we have this powerful idea of reading as a conversation. Now let's see how another German scholar, Rudolf Bultmann, took that idea and ran with it. He loved Gadamer's whole dialogue approach, but he applied it with a very specific and much more personal goal in mind. Okay, Bultmann's field is called existential hermeneutics. I know, it's a mouthful, but the core idea is pretty straightforward. He totally agreed with Gadamer. Your pre-understanding is key. But for Bultmann, the whole point of reading wasn't just to, understand something better. The point was to have an encounter. To let an ancient text speak directly to you right now and to challenge you, to call you to make a decision about your own existence. We're talking about reading with the highest possible stakes. So how do you get this life-changing message out of texts that are thousands of years old? Well, Bultmann had a pretty controversial method for this. He called it demythologization. His argument was that these ancient texts are often wrapped up in what he called a mythical husk. A pre-scientific worldview filled with angels, demons, and miracles that, let's be honest, can be a real stumbling block for a modern reader. So his mission was to carefully peel away that outer husk to get to what he called the existential kernel inside, the deep, timeless human truth. Let's take a big one, like the resurrection story. Bultmann would say, hey, let's not get bogged down arguing about the literal scientific possibility of it. Let's look for the kernel. And for him, that kernel is this powerful, urgent call to a new kind of life based on faith, a message that he believed could speak to anyone, anytime. So when you put these two thinkers next to each other, you can really see the connection and the difference. The common ground? They both saw reading as a dynamic conversation, not a one-way street. But their ultimate goals were different. Gadamer was focused on the philosophical process, how we can broaden our understanding of anything and everything. Bultmann, on the other hand, was much more focused. For him, it was about having a personal, theological, and potentially life-altering encounter with the text.
All right, I know what you might be thinking. This is some heavy, dense philosophy from 100 years ago. Why does it matter to me today? Well, here's the thing. Whether you know it or not, these ideas have fundamentally changed the way we all read. I mean everything, from a history book to an article you just scrolled past on your phone. They basically handed us a whole new toolkit for how we make sense of the world. So, what are the big takeaways from this whole revolution? Let's break it down. First, nobody is a blank slate. Your background, your experiences, that's not a flaw, it's your starting point. Second, reading is always a dialogue. You have to be willing to question the text, but also let it question you. Third, meaning isn't just sitting there waiting to be found like a treasure. It's something that gets created in the conversation. And all of that leads to the biggest point. We're not just spectators. Every time we read, we are active participants in creating meaning. So, that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If it's true, if every single thing you read, every book, every article, every post is only one half of a conversation, what are you going to bring to the table? What will your half of the dialogue be? What questions are you going to ask? And maybe even more important, what questions are you going to be open enough to let it ask you?